one thing that I think we really need from a PR perspective is everyone, I think, kind of understands PR is at the top of the funnel. But what we really need to figure out is how do you actually connect, say, a specific interview to someone who came in and then ultimately purchased something from your company? I initially had interest actually in being a reporter before I got into communications and public relations. As a kid, I used to watch the Today Show pretty religiously. And at the time, they had an anchor whose name was Jane Pauley. And I thought she was just fabulous. She was smart, she was classy, and she just seemed like she knew everything, very worldly. And I absolutely loved her. I thought that she was great. And so I decided I wanted to be a reporter. And throughout kind of my childhood into college, I did a lot of reporting and a lot of, kind of reporting jobs in school if there was a school newspaper. And then once I got into college, I kind of fell into a PR internship. And I discovered, that it was sort of protecting, I guess, companies from big bad reporters, and that resonated with me. And so I decided that I wanted to get into PR. And so I started out with a couple of PR agencies in New York. I worked for a hockey team for a bit. I worked for a celebrity PR firm for a bit. I did fashion PR, and then I got into companies. And so I had several jobs of increasing responsibility in technology, aerospace and defense, consumer goods, biotech, construction, but always in different roles within marketing or communications. And currently I work for Egnyte, where I am the Vice President of Global Communications for a company that has created a world-class secure collaboration, governance, and security software platform. I think when thinking about like data specifically, there's lots of different ways that you can define it. But if I was to thinking about like a data set that was my first interaction, it was probably when I went back to get my master's degree in integrated marketing communications at Northwestern. And we had a number of classes that dealt with data and how do you analyze data in order to better target customers or consumers. And one of them was a project that we did with General Mills, their digital agency at the time, which I think was called dunnhumby, and also with a supermarket in the United Kingdom, which was called Tesco. And basically, these three groups were just sort of learning how to leverage customer data to determine who and when should be getting coupons. And so our task was to analyze the information from General Mills, determine who was purchasing what types of cereal, and then what days they were doing it, when in the month they were doing it, and then figure out when would be best and most advantageous to send a coupon to maybe encourage people to then go and make the purchase. So we used a database software, which was called SPSS, and we spent hours analyzing this data to help the organization. So that was probably my first experience with really large quantities of data and learning how to leverage customer insights in order to help companies be more financially successful. I think the thing about communications, I think there's always challenges in terms of being able to demonstrate how communications and public relations really affect the bottom line of a company. And executives always want to know the value of what we're doing. So it's necessary to use data every day. So data for me, really allows me to justify requests for new resources for my team, to allow them to be more successful, to sort of prove that what campaigns we're doing are really working. It helps us understand where we stand in terms of our brand in comparison to our competitors. It's just lots of things like that. I mean, I use data every day, so. I think the most important data point for me as a comms person is probably reputational awareness. And that is actually, for a lot of communicators, it's a pie in the sky kind of data point that they'd love to have, but it's expensive to get it. But I think, taking the time and getting that sort of data point on where you stand compared to competitors, where you stand in customers' minds, in reporters' minds, in analysts' minds, that can really, really help you set the stage for having a very compelling campaign and proving that it is making a difference in terms of perception for your company. But that said, there are a lot of simple metrics too, PR metrics that you can use. You could do something like share of voice. There's lots of different listening tools for social media that you can use, lots of ones for PR. How often someone in your executive team is interviewed, how often your messages get out there. So there's ways to do it, but I do think having an annual awareness report with, where you interview customers, government officials, reporters, community members, analysts, I think that can really be very powerful and help you set the tone for the entire year, really. I mean, there are ways that you can do it yourself, but a lot of times you would do it with a PR agency. And what they will do is they will work with another, kind of analysis firm, and they will then find people who are willing to answer simple questions about like aided or unaided awareness. So they'll say, for instance, with us, do you use a software platform for collaboration? And then people will say yes or no, and then they move on to the next question. The next question would be, what platform do you use? And then they might answer Dropbox, they might answer Egnyte, they might answer Google Drive, that sort of thing. And then the next question would be, okay, have you heard of Egnyte? And then they'll say, oh yes, I've heard of Egnyte. And then you go into more questions about our reputation specifically. So that's how you could do it. The other way that you can do it is by working with your sales team to identify some potential customers, or with the marketing team to find potential customers, to see where you are in terms of awareness. We have a customer success team here at Egnyte that's really great to work with to find out what customers are thinking of us. And then we also, you could do it with reporters, just calling up a handful of reporters that to kind of gauge where you're at in terms of reputational awareness. So that's the sort of thing that I'm talking about, but it is time intensive and it can be expensive. But I find it's really valuable in order to show where you are and then the impact of campaigns as a whole at the end of the year. I think new tools are coming out all the time. I mean, there's just tons of different things that you could use to measure things, but I think data regulations and requirements are something that's very interesting for communications people to watch, because I think, there's going to be more tools that will allow us to track user data, track who's at our website, people who fill out the forms, and the regulations around that are something that, could really impact our field. I also wish that in the future, one thing that I think we really need from a PR perspective is everyone, I think, kind of understands PR is at the top of the funnel. But what we really need to figure out is how do you actually connect, say, a specific interview to someone who came in and then ultimately purchased something from your company. And there are ways that you can do that today. I mean, you can track with SEO, and you can figure out who came into your website, and you can use the right keywords, and you can see who's actually on the website and then put them into your lead generation software, like we use Marketo, for instance. And so you can kind of track it that way, but I'm not sure that people, unless you work hard at it, I don't know that we've really uncovered the trick to proving that a PR article has ultimately hit your bottom line. And I think that's something that we would really like to see, but there are constantly new tools coming in, so. I mentioned a few of them earlier. Reputation awareness is something that we track, share of voice, the spokespeople and messaging to make sure that both our right spokespeople and our right messaging are going out into articles, the volume of mentions we get in the press. And that's just PR in terms of, if you look at like social media, impressions, posts, messaging, spokespeople, there's things like that in analyst relations as well. So a lot of that kind of data points are important for us, for our different audiences, and all of it helps us really prepare for future campaigns. I think, it goes back to what I said earlier in terms of the sale and how do you really connect your public relations efforts to a sale. I wish that's the one metric that I wish, you could just get onto some, website and just click a few buttons and just have that pop up and say, oh, you made this amount of money in sales due to, an article that you put out. That's one that I wish that I had. Yeah. I think there's a lot of different metrics that you can look at within your organization. If you don't have access to things like a Cision or a Meltwater or a Muck Rack or a Sprout for social, you should reach out to your marketing team will have amazing metrics, probably through their lead generation software. You should really connect with them. Your website team, they'll be able to help you determine which IP addresses people are coming from. And then if you look at sales or customer success teams, most organizations have an NPS score, a net promoter score that they get from their current customers. So that can help you as well. Just really being able to have at least some data points that you get that maybe you don't even have to pay for, other people will. That's a really great idea, is to look into, some of the other things that the company might already be measuring and how you as a communicator can connect into those. I mean, I've had a lot of campaigns that I've really enjoyed being a part of. I think maybe there's kind of two campaigns maybe that I would talk about, because as you know, I've worked in a lot of different industries, but getting more into healthcare has been sort of more of a recent thing. And I think, my last company, I was part of a human health company, and one of our charters was to really articulate the importance of health across a variety of spectrums. And we had clinical trials, for instance, that we did to help with the COVID vaccination. So we were part of that group. And we did this campaign for the holidays as part of our public health charter, which was before the vaccinations came out, but it was around COVID. And we did it around the holidays. So I guess the vaccinations came out probably in February, March, or April. And we did it the previous October and November. And this campaign basically took information that the CDC had already provided, but helped to articulate it in a little bit of a fun way, creating posters sort of talking about, whether or not when you're trick-or-treating, do we want people to come to our house? And so you could put up this poster that was very cute that said, hey, we love ghouls and goblins, but, this year we're going to be keeping ourselves in our house and being safe. So here's some candy outside for you. And we had a lot of press coverage around that. There was another campaign around Thanksgiving here in the United States. So some really cool coverage that came out of that. And we ended up having quite a number of people come to our website to download the poster. And so I think, keeping track of the people, the number of impressions we made via the articles that came out and the number of downloads that we had something like over 3 million people who had seen something about the company that I worked for. And so that was kind of very refreshing. And the fact that people were actually using it was very exciting, because you feel like you're giving back to the public then and helping them in a time of crisis. So that was an exciting campaign I worked for. And now, since I work at Egnyte, one of the things that we do, we have a campaign for some biotech startups that we have been working with, and we're allowing them to use our platform for free to make sure that they can manage their clinical trials. And so we're doing an exciting campaign there with some external partners like the Boston Globe and their stat group. And we're using data that we got back from marketing for the initial launch that will help us build out the broader, more public campaign. So I'm pretty excited about that one and what we'll get to see for the rest of the year coming in from the data for that. Well, I think, it's hard to tell the future and where we're going to go in terms of the economy. And it's easy for companies to cut the PR department in times of concern, maybe from a financial perspective. A lot because we don't necessarily do the best job in terms of professions and demonstrating through data the importance of our groups. But I think, these are the times when you really want to invest in your brand, because so many organizations will be cutting back. And if you invest in public relations, you'll get your awareness up, more people will know about you. You'll be doing it at a time when your competitors aren't. And, ultimately that can only benefit you as an organization. So I'm really blessed. I work for a company that really believes in marketing and branding and communications. And so I'm excited to see what we will end up doing. So I'm only 6 months in, so I think we have a lot more runway, and that we're going to end up doing some really great stuff as an organization. I think it is an incredibly powerful weapon that you can use to really demonstrate the value of your company to people, why they should be using your product. And I think that it just gets even more important when you get into, crunch times, I guess, when consumers or clients have to decide, are we going to select your organization? Or are we going to select another one? And, I think PR is one of the important pieces that can really give you an extra edge against your competition, for sure. If I was starting out in PR today, I would probably say, don't be afraid to take risks. That's the main thing. Everything is a learning experience, and data is a great way to help you, be able to take risks and see whether or not it worked quickly, and then allowing you to adjust to a different course if you need to, or keep staying on the same course. So that's what I would probably say. Be creative, be a risk taker, but definitely, since we're talking about data, always kind of look at the data and see what you could do.